Okay, so tonight on Nighthawk Motors, we're going to be showing everybody how the paddle shifters work on the 2018-2019 Mercedes Benz E300 4MATIC. Now this car comes equipped with two paddle shifters, obviously, and they have a metal finish on them, very easy to grab, very comfortable to use. They feel very high quality, and the transmission in this car is actually the new 9-speed automatic transmission. And overall, with the small bit of driving I did with this car, I can tell you this transmission is a lot different than the outgoing model. The outgoing model was a nice car, had a really good engine in it, the chassis was nice, everything about that car is nice, but the one complaint I always had about the old E350 was the transmission, and they have certainly addressed it in this car. Now, as you can see, I have the car in comfort mode. We're going to test it through all the various modes. Eco mode, we'll test in Eco mode, then we'll go up to comfort mode, and then we'll go to Sport mode, Sport Plus, and then to the individual setting, which is completely manual. I have it set to manual in this car. Okay, so right now we're going to downshift. Downshift. It's almost instant downshifts. It's about as fast as you can get with a standard torque converter automatic transmission. The only thing that's faster than this is possibly a ZF by fractions of a second, and also a dual clutch transmission, which they use in BMW M cars, Lamborghinis, not the Aventador. They don't use that in the Aventador. They use it in a Huracan, and Ferraris use dual clutch transmissions. I think all Ferraris use dual clutch transmissions, actually, all current ones. Who else uses dual clutch? There's a couple other auto manufacturers that use dual clutch transmissions, and they're very quick, but this one uses a standard torque converter that they have managed to make shift very fast. So, for example, well, yeah, there we go. So I went down the 7th gear as soon as I called for it. Of course, it won't let you call for a gear if it's going to lug the engine, and that's what they don't want you to do in a turbo engine, because, you know, it can lead to oiling problems in the engine, so that's why they don't want you to do it. And plus, there's no point, because you're not going to get horsepower down low and lower RPMs on turbo engines. And this car, for anybody that doesn't know, has a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder in it, and there's very minimal turbo lag in this car. So here's an example: downshift. 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 It's pretty much instant shifts, even in Eco mode. Let's go up to Sport mode here. I was in Eco mode. It must have switched out of it for some reason. Okay, so now we're in Sport mode, and let's see what the little dialogue says on that middle screen there. Okay, so everything's put to Sport mode there. ESP, which is the traction control, steering, and transmission, is in Sport. So I believe what happens there, I don't believe it firms up the shifts. I believe they're still the same, because it still is a hydraulically controlled torque converter transmission, but the responsiveness is different. So when you go like that, it downshifts a lot faster. But we're here to test the paddle shifters, which is why, you know, I'm making this video. So the paddle shifters they're there, and you can be very confident in the ability of these paddle shifters. You rarely feel like you're telling it to do something and it's not doing it, unless like you're lugging the engine too much, or you're trying to over rev the engine when you're downshifting, like do this, right? So you downshift. Come on, downshift for me, please. So I won't be able to downshift anymore from there, just because they don't want you to obviously throw a rod out of the side of the car. Yeah, you don't want to do that. All right, let's go up to Sport Plus. See, that changes everything about the car. Steering is still the same, but ESP is close to off, and the transmission's now in Sport Plus mode, which essentially looks like it just holds the revs higher for you, and you have more like it's just more responsive for you. See, like that, and gauges faster and everything. Paddle shifters, they definitely appear to respond quicker now, as you can see by me tooling around a little bit with this transmission. It's a lot quicker now, and it really, these paddles feel really good. The buttons on the backs of the paddles feel fairly good, but sometimes I find myself pressing it and it's not doing what I want it to do. So I almost feel like you have to be real deliberate with your presses with this transmission. Okay, we're gonna go up to individual setting, which is manual for transmission. It won't automatically shift anymore. I'm gonna have to find a place to turn around too. Okay, so now that we're back on the straight, we can give you an example of the individual setting. Now, as I said earlier, we're in manual for transmission, sport mode for steering, and sport plus for ESP, which is traction control. And shifts are very quick in this mode, in the manual mode, and it will not shift for you unless, I believe, you go above a certain RPM and it's calling for a shift. I don't think it holds the revs for you, and unless you call for a shift, but we can go ahead and test that out up here. So we're going to go ahead and shift in the first gear and then accelerate and see if it changes for it. Yeah, so it definitely changes gears for you if it has to. So it's not going to leave you sitting there bouncing off the rev limiter like some dual clutch units would and some other torque converter units that are on the market. But they just, I believe, you know, this isn't really supposed to be a dedicated performance car. This is a daily driver, so they don't want you to be sitting there wondering why the car's not accelerating when you're calling for it. So they just go ahead and do it for you. And I'm sure it's the same way with a lot of the other Mercedes models, but this one can be confirmed that it will upshift for you if it's calling for it. So yeah, I hope that explains to you guys how this transmission works, how the paddle shifters work on this car. And you know, it seems to be a very well tuned unit. I don't really have many complaints with it, other than just like every once in a while I feel like I'm pressing the paddle and I'm not getting anything out of it. But that could just be, you know, something that takes a little time to get used to, and I'm sure once you learn the transmission you'll have no problem with it whatsoever. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you found it valuable, you enjoyed it, and you want to see more, please subscribe. And if you have any questions, comment, because I get back to everybody that has a good question, and even some that are not. So I hope everybody has a great day and stay safe. Bye.